Now, what I'm doing today is I am in developer mode. I'm doing something boring developer-y, but I'm just using the command line. And the thing here is to point out a couple of tricks that there are in the command line. So I'll put my mouse in there and I'll change drive. And then I'll change directory to the root of that drive, and I'll do a quick directory and see what's in it. And I'm going into the scripts directory, so I'll cd scripts, and then I'll do another quick directory to see what we've got in there. And I'm going into Python. Now at this point, I could simply, well, cd Python, and then I'm going to do a directory again, but instead of typing dir again, I can just use my up arrows to go up and down through, and all the commands that I've already issued are on up and down arrows. So that's fine. And I'm looking for things that start with Q. So I want to do a directory of Python and then Q. Y-H T. And there's one called Python Qt, but that's not what I want. So I'm going to make a directory, which is new, and I'm going to call it Python, being really careful about the spelling. And QR, got to be capital for that, hasn't it? And I'm going to change directory. See, I'm using my up arrows again. Go back in here, do a quick dir. There shouldn't be anything in there. There is nothing in there. So what I'm going to do is use a command that nobody knows. It's a secret called copy con. And I'm using the console. The keyboard and the black screen are my console, and I'm using it. And I'm going to make a file called make QR code.py. And I now get a black screen where I actually type the contents of this file. I'm going to import QR code. I'm going to make a new image, which will be equal to QR code.make. I'm going to use the standard programmer tricky. Every time I open a bracket, I close one. I'll do that again. Open the bracket and close it, and then go back in. And I'm going to open quotes and close it and go back in. So that way I know that I never leave a bracket dangling. I'm never getting a spare. Have you ever been left trying to find a spare bracket or a spare quote? And that's how you stop doing that. And HTTPS .org.uk, and then I simply say image dot save, and I'm going to put it onto a file that I'm going to call my QR code.png, and that'll make it a PNG file. And at this point, when I'm on a blank line, I do Control Z, and I'm now about ready to show you this wonderful wee trick that nobody knows about. If I press F7, then up it will bring me a list with all the commands that I've typed. So if I ever want to go back and find out what I typed and why I typed it, then F7 lets me go back and do that. So I've now got make QR code.py, and I'll try and run it. Knowing my luck, it won't, because I've set it up so that it won't. And Python make QR code.py, and there's no such thing as import QR code. It's never heard of QR code. So what I will do is I will pip install QR code. This is how easy Python is to use. Tell it that you don't have something called QR code, and it installs it. And now, if I go back up and tell it to do that, I've now got my QR code.png, and if I type my QR code.png, then, oopsie daisy, I will stop that share and share that, and a QR code has appeared, which I can now print or save or put into a document or whatever I need to do. The point being here that you use up and down arrows when you're writing code like that, when you're working in the command line, to go to previous commands, to redo commands, certain things you're doing over and over and over again, and you just use up and down commands. Or if you want to see the list, you press F7 and it'll give you a whole list. Apart from the command line, there's now the PowerShell command line, and there's a latest thing called WT, Windows Terminal, that's just been brought out. And they'll all take the same F7 command to give you a list of all the commands that you've used this session, and that way you can do it. The wee bit of code there for doing QR codes is a wonderful thing if you have people coming to your house and you want them to use your Wi-Fi. Then what you do is you use that same wee bit of code to make a QR code with your Wi-Fi credentials on it. And that way, anybody that comes to your router can just take a picture with their phone and connect to your Wi-Fi. But they have to be in your house to get to the router, to get to the picture. So the QR code's simple. If you're wanting to use QR codes for anything else on your layout or on your documentation, they're really, really useful. They're very, very easy to do. And that was it. Just a simple thing about using the command line.